I think it was important to take this radical decision. This film should be for them, from them, for them. So I took this way. It's a dangerous way, a very difficult decision. And the producer say, Luiz, go on, you take the decision. And that's the way we worked.
Hello, my name is Michael Stütz, and I'm the head of the Panorama section of the Berlin International Film Festival. And today I'm very happy to welcome the Brazilian director Luiz Bolognesi here for a talk. Luiz had his last film, Ex-Shaman, in Panorama in 2018, and this year he's coming back with his new film, Última Floresta. Hi Luiz, wonderful to have you here again in the Panorama program. You've been here already in 2018 with your film Ex-Shaman, and now with The Last Forest, and I'm very happy to have your film in the selection this year and to talk to you today about it. My first question would be how the project got started for The Last Forest. I mean, for Ex-Shaman, you portrayed the community of the Paita Zurui in the Amazonas, and now 3 years later you worked with the Yanomami people. So I would be interested how the project started and why you wanted to make a film about their lives.
Thanks. Thanks. First of all, I want to say that it's a great honor for me and everybody that worked in the film to be back at Panorama. It's really very important for us and also for the issues of the film. It's a very important window to the world, and we are not only you are not giving voice to Brazilian cinematography, but also to indigenous people from Amazonia that are facing a very hard moment now. So thanks a lot. This project, it began when I was shooting, as you said, Ex-Shaman. And that film, we are showing a situation where the shaman is losing control of everything because the evangelical priest comes to the people, to the indigenous people, to live with them, and begins to say that shaman are evil, and they are sick and they are not well because what shaman do are evil, and people get Christianized, and their culture begins to they lose their culture, and it's happening in lots of places in Brazil. And Ex-Shaman that you showed 3 years ago in Panorama is about that. But when I was there, I thought that it was very important to shoot the opposite of that. There are lots of indigenous people where shamans are very strong, facing this kind of invasion, not allowing evangelical people to arrive and trying to keep on and to get running their own culture. And the main aspect of every indigenous people culture is the shamans political acts, the mythical and religious aspects, and the science that they know. So I decided that it would be important to make a documentary in this situation. So I read a book from David Copenau, Yanomami, that's a great shaman, a very known shaman in Brazil, that lives in a very isolated area in the middle of Amazon, where we can't arrive by car or even by boat, only by small planes, and they are living in their very own way of living, very close to the same way they live in the last 4,000 years, we can say. And I went to David and invited him to make this film with me.
Ana kami ni hata kuoma. Kami nabiyap tayo de. Yapatoti hiaplama. Yapatoti hiaplama. Yapanatoama. Wale nakabla lama. Tab nosia muda yataba nosia huama. Yami wa kuo de. Wa nakariwi tana wa tabu mau de wa iya mau de. O hiakai isorayu. O hipana taba bihi honi plaman. wa mio I tan kai mohodi. Wa te toa de wa te de. Wa na me.
Davi also is credited as a co-writer on the screenplay on your film. So I would like to know how you collaborated closely with him and how much time did you spend there with your team actually with the Yanomami community?
In the first moment, I went to Davi village in the middle of the forest, and we stayed together for 2 weeks, working in the script. But it's not exactly a script. It was more a decision of which stories we would tell, we would shoot. And it was a very interesting way because as he was a screenwriter with me, even if he doesn't write, but he decided the stories, we used it to bring old people, the leaders, the old men, to decide what stories we're going to tell. And some moment, I realized that we are deciding everything only by men. And I asked Davi, can we listen the women? And at the first moment, he said, no, they are not used to come to this kind of decisions. But at the same time, there was a very strong indigenous woman, Eruana, that used to came to me and bring stories. And she's a kind of feminist in the Yanomami world. We have that also. And she was fighting for space. And I come back to Davi and I said, Davi, I would like to tell also the story of women at this moment. And Eruana had great stories to tell us. And Davi decided that, okay, we will listen to Eruana's story also. So Eruana also collaborated with the stories that we are creating. And that's more or less the way we did. Listening to them, deciding together, break some rules, and some rules we wouldn't break because they have lots of magical rules. For example, we are not allowed to shoot babies because they think that the camera can steal their spirit. But if they are old, if they are strong, if they are healthy, and they understand what they are doing, they say, we are prepared to that. You can shoot, but not babies. They don't understand. They are not prepared. So we have one shoot of a baby in the film, and we had to make that in a different village with another people for who the camera is not a problem. So some rules we go ahead, like women can tell stories, and some rules we all the time decided to respect and understand, and that brought a very confident relationship. And that's why I think the film came up very indigenous. That's what we are looking for all the time.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you can really feel and see the agency of the community of the Yanomami and of Davi and all the people involved in the film. And I also wanted to ask you about, you coming in there with your team, you're shooting, and it's very clear that you let them tell their stories, and you film them, and you are there with you're with sound and everything. And I was interested in the part after shooting, when you go back and go into the editing, the sound editing, when you decide what you show and what you don't show in the editing room. Sort of, how difficult it is then to keep the balance and to manage, to have still this agency for the Yanomami people that they still tell their stories, which you managed wonderfully.
Yes, it was really hard work because as for them, the first aspect, very interesting, is that for Yanomami people and lots of indigenous people, there isn't a difference. They don't separate dreams world and real world. Dreams are real, are so real as the daylight. For example, I was walking with one warrior, indigenous warrior, in the morning, and he told me, I'm very tired. And I said, but it's 5 in the morning. Why you are tired? Because all the night I have been running from a jaguar, and it was a dream.
Mama, sure did you do that, Yo, bus panu blaki de
When I was in the editing room and I realized that we have too much magic pointers of view, and I decided that I realized that it would be a problem to white audience. What to do? I decided that I would do the indigenous way. And if the film was not clear to white people, it would be a film for indigenous people. And that's the decision that now, also because Panorama invited the film and I showed the film for some few white people from white audience, and it works. But I think it was important to take this radical decision. This film should be for them, from them, for them. If it works for white people, great. But if it doesn't work, so I took this way. It's a dangerous way, a very difficult decision. And the producer say, Luiz, go on, you take the decision. And that's the way we worked in the edition house. And there was something that was very interesting, because when I was shooting, they have been speaking in Yanomami language, and I understand few words from Yanomami language. And when we finish the shot, sometimes it takes 25, 30 minutes. I asked someone to translate what they have said. And in less than 1 minute, he says what happens, but I didn't know exactly. And then they make subtitles. They helped me to make subtitles to all the material. And in the edition room, I really understand what I have been shooting. In the set, I didn't know exactly. So it was really a kind of place where the light comes on and I understand the film, and I took the stories, and I used it to get surprised, because I didn't know, for example, there is someone that disappears in the film. And the mother-in-law say, maybe he has been eaten by a jaguar, maybe he has been enchanted and kidnapped by a magic woman from the river. And I didn't know that when I was shooting. So I got some informations from my script that I didn't know, only in the edition room when I got translated their language. So it was a very rich and interesting process.
One of the parts that you also show in the film, more in a documentary kind of way, is obviously also the dangers that they face, within Brazilian society, and especially also since the last election and Bolsonaro coming in and his government, and how it affected sort of also not only, I guess, their lives, but in general all indigenous communities in the rainforest. And yes, I was interested how the situation currently is for them, because they seem very resilient and very up for fighting and not letting people in. As you say, they live very, they do not like to let outsiders in.
Yeah, this is a very, very difficult moment for indigenous people and for people from Amazon. Because, for example, the Yanomami that we show in our film, they have a piece of land that belongs to them from thousands of years, and that the Brazilian Constitution respects, and that the Brazilian Congress recognizes. So they have a legal land. Some people, some indigenous people in Brazil don't have yet this recognition. They have the recognition. So it's not allowed that any white man go in their land without their authorization. And Davi Kopenawa has been fighting to white people respect their land. It's a big piece of land. It's almost a Belgium. It comes from Venezuela and goes in the middle of Amazon jungle, a very big piece of land that is, the forest is there, very strong. All the biomes, all the animals, birds, fishes are there yet, because the way they live is very sustainable. They respect, they say, the respect that you have for commodities, you white people, the respect that you have for money, we have for fertility. Fertility is the most important thing for Yanomami people. We belong to the place where we live. It's not the country. It's not the place that belongs to us. So Davi has been fighting from the 80s, in the last almost 40 years, to preserve his land, and it's working well. In the last 10 years, when gold miners and gold prospectors go in their area, Davi call and the Brazilian army goes there and take off the miners. The federal police of Brazil goes there and take out the gold miners. But in the year that the President Bolsonaro took the power, 15,000 miners went into the Yanomami land, and they are there yet. No, the constitution is not being respected. What Davi asks is only, I'm not asking a favor. I only want you to follow the law that you did. You must take off these miners. But the Brazilian government, and I don't know why, not even the army, not even the federal police, not even the justice are working in the legal way and taking off these miners. And the problem is not only for indigenous people, it's for all the planet, because these miners, they devastate the jungle, big pieces of jungle. They use mercury, heavy metal, to take gold from the land, and this metal goes to the small rivers and then arrive in the big rivers and kill everything, kill fishes, kill Yanomami children, and kill the animals. All the animals go to drink water in the small rivers and the big rivers, and it's being destroyed. And Davi decided, I don't want to make a film only about that. I don't want to make that we make a film about my people and say only that we are suffering and have problems, because we have problems, but we have very strong things. So we decided to see and to understand how they live, and at the same time talk about this problem, even if it's a big problem, and not only for them. It's a big problem for all Brazilian people, and it's a big problem for European people because of the climate changes. We have to protect them. If we leave the land with indigenous people, the forest is kept alive. If we don't, if we allow this invasion, we will lose the last jungle.
Yeah, let's hope there will be a solution soon and they can claim their land, fully, and keep invaders out and keep on teaching us, And I hope that Davi can come to Berlin with you and your team.
Yeah, I hope so.
To Berlin, to be there to talk to the audience, and that we can share the film with an actual physical audience and not just have a digital exchange, as wonderful as this now is. That's my biggest wish, and thank you so much for the time and for the wonderful talk and for explaining everything so vividly. And yes, I hope we'll see you in June, and Davi and everyone else from your team, and have a big celebration here in Berlin.
I hope so, and I thank you, Michael, and everybody from Berlinale, for giving us the opportunity to talk to the audience of Berlinale. Thank you very much.